Yo, what's up guys, it's Xeyo here, and you guys have been waiting for this probably, but the results from the popularity polls are in, and we have finally compiled the results to give you guys the definitive official Yu-Gi-Oh popularity tier list, because you know, official is in my YouTube name, and also I'm a reliable, trusted source, right? But anyways, we're gonna go through each tier, and of course, you guys will finally be able to see where your favorite archetypes are placed. Now let's go. Now, not every single archetype really ranked that low, but we're going to curve it, you know, to curve the test results a little bit to actually be able to separate these archetypes out into their respective categories, S all the way to F tier. So let's get started. And starting off, we are starting all the way at the F tier, and F tier is not quite a place you want to be at. However, someone has to go there. Otherwise, you know, you can't have a tier list without the F tier. So our first archetype, unfortunately, it's Flunderies. You know, F for Flunderies, of course. Probably the most controversial archetype. Definitely defenders of Flunder here, but 39% for D tier is very bad, actually. There's no denying that a lot of people hate this archetype. So for the most hated archetype probably of recent times, well, not counting Sun, because it's not really an archetype, this is the lowest ranked one. So unfortunate to my bird bros, I personally would have voted A. And for the second and only other F tier here is Cash tier. No, there's no K tier, so we get to stick them in F. And it may look more balanced than it actually looks. I mean, you see quite a bit of you know, people in A, a lot of people in B actually, and some C, and not that much in D. However, that's just compared to every other archetype I've averaged the results, and Cash tier is actually just straight up the second lowest ranked one. So although a lot of people do like B tier, maybe just because Fenrir is literally right there, so I don't know. However, it doesn't quite cut it and has to be placed in the F tier. Now, we only had 2 archetypes in F tier, so now we're moving on to D tier. There's going to be quite a bit more in this tier. However, you know, still, we're at the bottom of the barrel. Next up is Ritual Beast. Now, if you guys have noticed, there's a little bit of a count of votes. This one is on the higher end, so this is a more reliable amount of votes here, but it's looking pretty mid, on the lower end of mid. Those lower votes really drag it down, and Ritual Beast does not have a bunch of defenders compared to some of the other archetypes, and just in general, the consensus is either mid or do not like this archetype. Next up, purely kind of the same thing. We have quite a bit of people that probably just don't care. But yeah, like I was saying, a lot of B and C can't really carry up the D tier as much. Next up is Runic, and it does look pretty good for Runic. However, a lot of the A tier votes are dragged down by the D tier votes, obviously, and then the rest of it is kind of middling. Now, there's probably a bunch of people that hate this archetype, but mostly because stun. However, you know, it is what it is. It's caught in the crossfire. It is still a problem with the archetype. And now we have Rescue Ace, a very strong contender once upon a time. Maybe he might come back at some point. I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, very mid, as you can see. For a lot of these D tier, B tier, C tier, you're going to see a lot of the same kind of, it's okay, but there's going to be, you know, enough C and D tier votes to offset the A tier votes. And that was it for D tier. 4 archetypes there. Not too bad, but for the most part, I think most people would agree on these kind of parts. Not many too strong defenders. However, for every strong defender in those tiers, there was always a strong offender. So now moving on to the C tier. Now, this one was a little bit surprising compiling this one, but this was done a few months prior, so maybe the sentiment has changed. Now, here we have Tenpai, and I'm pretty sure if we did the vote again this time around, there'd probably be a little bit lower votes, if I'm going to be real here. But A tier, I think a lot of those are just because the artwork on these guys is very nice. I mean, like let's just be real. This cool looking archetype. However, yeah, as of the recent times, I know a lot of people have gotten kind of tired of the Tenpai gameplay loop. So for now, it's going in the C tier. Let me know what you guys think about this one, because this one might be a little controversial. Next up after that, we have Sprite, the other contender of tier format, but, you know, it kind of got left in the dust. And actually, you know, Elf's banned, so it kind of sucks right now still. But anyways, we're talking about popularity, and it looks pretty okay. I mean, not like the most in C or D, so hey, landing a spot in the C tier is still pretty decent. And it was on the lower end of the votes, so maybe that could be contributing. Maybe we need some more votes next time around. Next up, Thunder Dragon. So this was before Colossus came back to 2, I think it is right now. So I don't know, maybe the sentiments changed. Maybe people have been beginning to hate it because of Ritual Beast. You know, it kind of gets caught in the crossfire because of that and because of Nemesis. So I don't know, maybe people don't like this as much, but a pretty strong showing in A tier. However, the B and C tier, there's more votes total there, so it ends up becoming straight to the middle. Next up is Chimera. Not too bad of an archetype, you know, good old C for Chimera. You know, it kind of just works, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, a lot of A and B tier votes, that's for sure, and the averaging just doesn't help it enough because the B tier can only help so much pull it up. If it was a little bit more in A tier, this would definitely be up a lot higher. So still very good. I think the sentiment is not too many haters, and there's a lot more defenders than there are haters here. So C tier is looking pretty good. Next up, we have Voiceless. Now this is kind of the same thing as the last one, last two actually. There's just a lot of people that were like, you know, the archetype is okay, and that makes sense. We are in the okay tiers here, so nothing much else to say here. It is on the lower end of votes, but I don't think many people would kind of change their vote on this one. Not really much has been said about this archetype lately. And now we're moving up to some of the more loved archetypes here, B tier. So we'll start to think some of the archetypes that you kind of like a little. Now we have Labyrinth. So Labyrinth here has quite a bit of votes, 500 votes as compared to some of the other ones, and you know, there's a good amount of defenders. However, you may be thinking, wow, this was a B tier even though that many A tiers voted. Well, let's just say the archetypes above this one show a little bit more love than this one, and you guys will see that. I think for the most part, there's just very strong defenders of Labyrinth, and then a lot of people who like how the archetype looks, and the archetype isn't really oppressive in any way, so I think it kind of just ends up being all right. Yeah, looks good to me. Next up, we have Sky Striker, one of the most played archetypes, I guess, in like as an engine, because like engage and all that is still everywhere. Yeah, a lot of people like this archetype, and there was a couple who don't like it quite as much, so it kind of lands a little bit too far off from getting to that A tier. However, still pretty good results here. Maybe if we had more votes, we might be able to see some equalizing in kind of the B, C, and D tier as opposed to the A. But as for the most part, the people who like this archetype are pretty loud here. And moving up from there, we have White Force, one of the newer archetypes. So this one maybe have more fans lately, because this was, I think, a little bit just slightly after info came out. But for the most part, positive sentiments as always. I mean, that's like 80% in B tier and up, so that's pretty good. It's in a good spot right now, and maybe we might see this one move up as time goes on. And now we have the most glazed archetype of all time I've ever seen in my life, Tier Limit. There's a lot of people who really like this archetype, and you know, quite a few who dislike it too. That D tier is looking a little bit higher than usual for the other archetypes, but yeah, Tier Limit is pretty solid, pretty well loved here, so I don't think there's much else to say here. And now we have Centurion, one of the I guess more played recently, and actually has a lot of votes, 600 votes compared to the others, and just positive vibes. This is one of my favorite decks too, so I would have voted this a little bit higher, but I think very top of B tier because this is the last one in B tier, so hey, we'll take that. Now that was it for the B tier archetypes, and now we are at A tier and up. So this is where the big hitters are. This is where people love these archetypes, and let's just get down to these results. Now we have A for Branded. Wait a second. A. I mean, something's a little off. But there's no surprise here. Branded is one of the... I mean, how many YouTube channels have been made because of Branded? There's probably been a lot, right? There has to be. There's so many Branded players out there, and they are dedicated. This deck, I don't think, is ever gonna be, you know, out of the meta. There's always gonna be a Branded player somewhere, and I think a lot of people would like this archetype a little bit more if there was no Gimmick Puppet. I'm gonna be real. I think a lot of those B or C's are probably because Gimmick Puppet exists. So maybe, just maybe, if that card gets banned, we might see an S tier in the future for Brandon. Now I know what you're thinking. Why is Ubel up here? This was like the second or first poll I made, so this one might not be too accurate. Maybe people didn't get the idea that this is a popularity tier list, or maybe YuGiOh is actually just that positive. I don't know. So a lot of people apparently liked this archetype, and hopefully it wasn't because people thought it was meta. So I'm not too crazy about YuGiOh. I did play it. It is fun to play, but YuGiOh is kind of mid in terms of design IMO. Now this next one, Snake Eye, kind of the same thing as YuGiOh. It was one of the first two polls, so I'm not quite sure how many people actually like the archetype. I think Snake Eyes is okay. I do kind of like the Diabell Star a little bit more, so I wouldn't be too surprised if it was actually people who do like the archetype. It might be at this point everyone's just tired of it, so maybe that's why people just feel like it's not that popular, but it probably is still that popular. And here we have probably the best rogue engine to be put in your deck here. Horus is literally for every other deck besides the most meta of decks. I don't know, Horus is just solid. I don't have anything bad to say about Horus. It enables my favorite deck, so maybe that's why people put this pretty high up, because Imseti Spaghetti is just a cool guy. I mean, come on now. And now, for what you all been waiting for, the S tier archetypes. There's only 2 in here, and I'm very happy about one of them. Fire King is in second place for most popular archetype, and I'm not too surprised. I mean, I think a lot of people quite like Fire King, and especially just how it plays. It has room for counter play. The cards are cool. We like their interactions. It's not just unwinnable games that they set up turn 1. It's very interactive, back and forth kind of matches here. So design peak, gameplay peak. I mean, what else can we say about that? And here we are. The best archetype of all time, to no one's surprise, is Bestial. Let's go. Hey, I did not rig these results, but I cannot guarantee that I did not contribute to these. Now, all I'm saying is, you know, hey, Bestials for 10 more years, Magnuma to 4,000. Let's bring Magnuma back to 6, you know what I'm saying? And get this archetype back in everyone's hands. My boy Lubellion sitting up at the top, peak design, peak gameplay. And if you hate Bestials, then that's on you. That's not on me. And there you have it, the tier list here for everyone to look at. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments, whether you agree with any of these or what you personally would have wanted to see higher up. We might be doing this again just for a new format now. Sentiments has changed. Some new decks have come into the format too. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, like I said, and we might be doing this soon. So be on the lookout for that. So before you guys leave, make sure you guys are subscribed and hit the like button while you're here, because I guess this wasn't that much work. It just took a while, but you guys know what I mean. All right, peace out. See you guys later.